Over the years, Rick and Morty has experimented with different plots and episode formats, but Season 8 recently revealed a harsh reality regarding the show's solo episodes. As the title implies, Rick and Morty revolves around its two main characters, who are always going on wild adventures. Rick and Morty's best episodes typically feature the two protagonists at the center of the action, making solo adventures extremely risky, even though the rest of the Smith family and a few frequently appearing supporting characters are prominent in the series. Both Rick and Morty are typically featured in every episode to some extent, even when their stories aren't connected. However, Valkyrick chose to completely ignore Morty, much like Rise of the Numbericons, the movie, did with Rick in the previous season. It's interesting to note that this gamble appeared to pay off, as Rick and Morty Season 8's positive reviews persisted, with Episode 2 receiving largely favorable reviews. Even though Valkyrick isn't the best episode in the franchise and didn't quite make it to the premiere of Season 8, its strong performance revealed an intriguing detail about the show's more isolated stories. Even though Morty wasn't in the show, Valkyrick was entertaining and funny throughout, demonstrating that a story can still be successful without one of the main characters. Although Episode 2 of Season 8 is unlikely to be remembered as one of Rick and Morty's most well-liked adventures, it also didn't feel out of place and blended in perfectly with the show's typical aesthetic. It felt long overdue to see Rick and Spacebeth take center stage because their relationship has so much untapped potential, and they had the ideal chemistry. I was left wanting more after their fight with the Gromflamites, and since Spacebeth might end up joining Rick and Morty Season 8's cast on a regular basis, I hope that this won't be the last time we see her team with Rick. Although his story with Plain Tina in A Rick Convenient Mort featured some of his best character work, this is not to say that Morty always needs Rick to be compelling. However, given that Rise of the Numbericons ended up being Rick and Morty's lowest-rated episode, it's difficult to argue that Rick's solo appearance was anything other than a failure. Therefore, it would be extremely risky to completely exclude Rick, even if the show decides to concentrate only on Morty in the future. It seems odd that Rick and Morty can succeed without Morty but not without Rick, given how important both characters are to the success of the series, but there is a plausible explanation. Morty is a fascinating character in many ways, but his impact is mostly restricted to the Earth in his dimension. While Rick is one of the most recognizable characters in every conceivable dimension, he hasn't made many enemies or allies to support his own adventures, despite having traveled across the multiverse with his grandfather. Compared to something like the Numbericon episode, which was much more arbitrary, stories about Morty's home life or school feel much more rational. Rick, on the other hand, enjoys the chaos of encountering strangers because of his background, which allows him to get along with nearly anyone. Rick and Morty shouldn't give up on giving Morty a solo adventure just yet, even though his last solo episode didn't go as planned. Without Rick, it might be challenging to come up with a plot that truly brings out the best in Morty, but I think there is still a lot of unrealized potential in his character. Since Mr. Goldenfold and Water Tea are the only well-known characters in the episode and aren't complicated enough to be assigned such significant roles, Rise of the Numbericons didn't make use of many significant supporting characters. Therefore, matching Morty and Summer would offer a genuine opportunity to concentrate on their sibling relationship without involving Rick, a notion that has a great deal of potential for further development. There have been previous attempts by Morty to go on adventures without Rick, but concentrating on him overcoming his dependence on Rick, a plot point that was introduced in the Season 7 finale, would also have a lot of potential and might be far more interesting to viewers than the Numbericons ever were.